Okay, party people, we're back at the bus, and today is probably a lot of window work.
A lot of windows.
We didn't get as much done last time when we were here that you guys saw because we were just figuring stuff out. I mean, we were figuring out even how to get them back in. Just some of the screws are kind of tough, and the holes don't line up getting them back in, so it was a little bit, and we had to cut the panels. So just took some time, but I think today's gonna go a little bit faster, hopefully. So we're going to put a couple windows in, do a patch panel, probably take some stuff out. We have 6 more windows. Yeah.
6, yeah.
6 more windows to take out. So those are coming out today. And so we can get everything sealed up, get the roof sealed up next, and then we can start to, well, still have a tarp because we have that lovely hole back here. At least we'll know things are sealed then, and we can kind of continue to move forward and not have a giant tarp on it all the time. So
might also do the sideboard today.
Yeah.
That we didn't finish. Was that last weekend? Yeah.
Yeah, it was last
So
week.
we did this side.
Yeah, so my buddy Nick's gonna come by again. It was just nice to have 3 hands for that. 3 sets of hands, you know, me on the outside and then them 2 on the inside. So we're gonna sand that first. So let's get doing it. Alright, so we're like 15 minutes into work and we're both like out of breath because we've just been scraping away.
Well, this is also the first 70-degree weather day. Every other day it's 40, 50.
By far the nicest day that we've had working. It's like, 70 something.
Already considering cutting off my sleeves.
Yeah. Reagan's regretting wearing long sleeves, but got that sanded down, and so we're gonna go back to putting in some windows until my buddy Nick gets here, and then we can go ahead and glue these guys up. Let's do some windows. First, water. Don't forget to hydrate.
And then beer.
Alright, another window in. Definitely went in easier than the one we did on that side.
I don't know if it went in easier, we just know what we're doing.
Yeah, we just know what we're doing. It always helps doing something the second time around because you know what you're doing. So Reg's scraping off the outside. I remembered we forgot to do that last time, so we're just scraping off some leftover caulk and weather stripping and stuff up here. And then we're going to get these the next one in. And then this one is gonna, we'll do our patch panel here next before we do this one, because this will actually sit on top of the patch panel and help kind of squish it into the frame here. So
yeah, we have to get that window out first.
Yeah. So 1 window in, 1 window out, patch panel in, another window in, another window in. Let's go. Alright guys, so pro tip of the day, well, not pro tip, more like more big noobs tip, but I love this impact driver that I've had, and it's great, but if you're going to use an impact driver, use impact bits, impact sockets, because you're going to break stuff, which we did taking some screws out, and then now just putting screws in. I've broken a bit or 2, so we finally got a nice, proper magnetic bit holder, and then a bunch of these nice impact bits. Usually the impact stuff is black rather than silver, so keep an eye out for that. It's usually marked for impact, but definitely just go out and buy it. I mean, I think they're maybe a little bit more expensive than some of the non-impact counterparts, but I'll tell you, using an impact is way better than using a drill. And part of the reason we had to go and get this is because the drill just wasn't giving us enough force getting these screws in. Some of them, they're going into a small little channel, and just the amount of friction that gets built up, the impact really powers through it. Whereas the other drill, even if I'm just putting all my weight into it, it's really hard to do. So impact, highly suggested. If you're gonna use an impact, get the right stuff. Alright guys, got the rest of the chairs out on this side. You can see we're hard at work prepping it. The next doing some sanding, getting the gunk off. Nick's working the window frames here. I'm gonna get the rest of the windows out on this side. Let's do it! Alright, and it's the next day. We're really good at doing this whole transition thing of, you know, doing some sort of outro in the one day and into the next. But here we are, eating lunch. Got a nice little...
nice setup, I don't know.
We usually start most of our days with lunch.
Yeah.
We end up getting here around noon, especially if we come on Sundays, because well, right now we're in quarantine, so we watch church on Facebook, but then we usually get here around noon and have some lunch and then get cranking and work till about dinner. We've been putting in usually like 5 hours. Maybe 5 or 6 hours when we're here, but gotta fuel up, so time to eat. Okay, so first step, wiping down with some water. As you guys saw with the other ones, you guys know how this goes. If you watched our previous videos, we already took out our back few windows, replaced one, put a couple back in, but we just took these out yesterday, again, as you saw, and so we're just prepping them to prime and paint, and here we go. Alright, so what we're about to do next is a big step, but it needs to be done and something we're going to do regardless. But I think it's just fair, going to be very interesting to see what's under the floor. So, gives away what the next step is, which we're going to take out a section of this floor and get an idea of what the frame looks like, what the cross members look like. If there's any cross members that maybe need to be replaced, we'll replace them, but basically what we found out as we've been tearing this bus apart, if you guys have been following along or seen any of our previous videos, you'll know this bus has interesting construction and isn't like every other Skoolie out there. And we found that the way it's been constructed, and just over time with water and things and leaks and whatever, there's parts that have just totally delaminated and various bits of rust and whatever, which would probably some people would run away from, but we're taking it on a fun challenge, and we're gonna... What?
Bug in here.
Reggie has a bug in her beard. It's really not that hard to, as we've been cutting into here, figuring out how the bus is constructed. It really hasn't been that hard to figure out how we're gonna kind of reinforce and replace things. It's kind of crazy to me. I mean, maybe when everything was really well like sealed and laminated and put together, this bus was really sturdy and strong. But it is kind of crazy to me that this is how this bus was constructed and that there's not more metal framing in here. But I suppose a couple layers of really well molded fiberglass and that cardboard, when it's not wet, does provide a good amount of structure. Let's get this section of floor up. I think first we're gonna unhook the grounds for the wiring harnesses so we can kind of get them out of the way. They've been just like hanging all over the back here, and it's really annoying and it's just a mess. And we're gonna take out this back panel over here because it's already got a couple screws that are bad or they've kind of ripped out or whatever. These screws are gonna be hard to get out for sure. They're just old and have been seeing some rust and things. So there may be some cutting involved, but we'll see. Let the adventure begin. So, let your cringing begin. Ta-da! Pretty much what we thought we were going to encounter. So yeah, as you can tell, we're going to be replacing some cross members. And for, like I was about to say, I think for a lot of people, this is like fucking, well, pardon my language there. Yeah. This is a nightmare. And yes, this is not ideal. This would be great to not have a bus with no rust, or a bus we just had to, paint the underside or treat the underside and be fine. But reality is we bought a Midwest bus. What?
For $3,000.
For $3,000, so the bus is pretty cheap. And honestly, I'm okay with, it's a learning process, and this is kind of, it's a big project, but that's why we gave ourselves a year and a half to do it. Like, if this is going to take us, a while to do and treat the frame before we continue to build, like, we've given ourselves hopefully the time to do that, and also learn a lot along the way. I've learned so much about the way this bus is constructed, and we're going to be replacing and making it better. And it's kind of fun to figure out how we're going to make it better.
Not only are we converting a bus, we're basically rebuilding a bus.
Yeah, literally, like, and I think that's maybe one thing that makes this a little bit different than a lot of Skoolie builds. It's a different bus, people build shuttles, but this is kind of, I feel like, a unique situation that we're in here. And just everything we're finding, and we've given ourselves, I will say, to challenge, but it's fun and it's an adventure, and maybe we get somebody to weld this, maybe I learn how to weld, we'll find out. We haven't figured that part out yet, we gotta weigh the options yet, but it's cool to learn about this and get to enjoy this with each other. And while it seems like it's a headache and it's a lot of work and whatever, I think in the end it's gonna be cool to look back at.
It's gonna be almost even more satisfying at the end.
Like we said, the bus was $3,000, runs great mechanically sound bus. The frame is very sound. These cross members, you guys gotta remember, these cross members are sitting on top of the frame, and they're also not as thick as the frame. And this is our back section where we knew we were gonna have the worst rust issues. This is where water issues, whatever. So yes, there's gonna be more rust moving forward probably that we're gonna deal with. But the actual frame rails themselves are mostly surface rust, yes, and the coating's chipped off and things like that because of rust, but they're going to be, I think, cleaned up pretty darn well, and then replacing just the cross members that need it and patching if we need. And yeah, it's a big project, but it's exciting for me at least. I don't know for Regan, I think for Regan too, but to be starting to tear in at this point and really find out, okay, get down to the end of the demolition process, because we're continuing to demo, and we're really taking it down to the skins here. All the way down to the frame and really stripping everything. So we're making this our bus and we're having fun doing it. So we gotta figure out what the hell we're gonna do next. Reagan wasn't recording, but we got the exhaust off. So this is the back, like 6 feet of our exhaust that snapped at where one of the other hangers is. We're not sure when, because we never noticed it until like the last time we drove the bus is when we noticed it. But this is trash because we're gonna hopefully have a stack exhaust. All right, after some more deliberation, we decided this guy's gonna come out too. There's a next section, so there's probably, I'd say 9 or 10 plywood sections that make up the whole floor, because we've got these chair rails here that run the length of the bus. So basically, you know, it's 3 sections wide by pretty much 3 sections back. I think we'll kind of just take out this next section because we really just want to get a good idea of the status of the cross members. I mean, like we said, we're taking this out anyways, but right now we want to start planning and getting an idea of the status of everything underneath here, and also planning again how we're replacing things like there's a routed board that sits between here and connects this outer wall of fiberglass to the actual frame of the bus. So that's rotted out a good amount of the way, and we're going to replace that, make that super solid, because that's basically just been completely fluff. I mean, we were stabbing down there with stuff and we were scraping all the insulation out, and it was just like it's all falling down. If you push the wall of the bus out, I mean, I can stick my hand and I can see the ground right now. So this fiberglass wall down here really isn't connected, and it's going to become completely disconnected from the front cab all the way basically to the back of the bus, because we're going to have to take these out, and those boards are rotted anyways. A lot to take in, for sure, but I've been realizing these things as we've obviously been tearing the bus apart, and just planning and thinking of how we're going to repair them and how we're going to fix them. Again, this is not how everybody would want to do it, but it's how we're doing it, and it's going to make for a fun adventure and a unique project. So I'm going to get cutting this. Not much better. I kind of saw this from the other side because I saw this guy wobbling around. So this guy was wobbling pretty good from underneath, and that's pretty easy. That's sheet metal. These guys are, yeah. So there's definitely gonna be some cross members that are getting replaced.
Wow.
Wow.
How do you feel?
I don't know. I just want to keep doing it now. Now it's like, okay, let's find out the extent of what we gotta do.
We have to stand. We could do it to both sides, I guess. Yeah. So we can stand in the middle.
Yeah, we got some figuring out to do on the next step here. I mean, this is obviously some figuring out to do here, but kind of what we want to do next as far as tearing stuff up. Just because we're like in the midst of the windows. So we don't want to make our lives terrible trying to put these windows back in.
Not have any place to stand.
Not have any place to stand, things like that. So, yeah. Try not to screw ourselves over. Let's do some figuring out.
Just look, I guess.
We're going to figure some things out and we'll get back with you guys. Okie dokie, artichokies. So because we took the 2 out on that side and we still got some stuff in here and we still kind of want some space to be able to do the rest of the windows and stuff, we're going to cut out this side. So we've kind of got the 2 back there, and then 1 we're going to jump to this side so we can get an idea of what the frame structure is like all the way back in the cross members and stuff, and give us a better idea for planning, and also give us the ability to still walk and move around in here and have some stuff in here for the time being. So
we've assessed it, and Johnny can reach the windows from the middle section.
I can still paint. I can still
paint. You can put them in
from the
still.
Middle. So we're good.
We're hopeful this will look a little bit better.
Yes, hopeful, but not 100% certain. of emotions right now.
A lot of emotions?
It's just exciting, but it's like, okay, start thinking about fixing it and how we're gonna fix it. What's this? Oh, it's a step light, maybe.
Oh, well, it's a gas tank under there.
Yeah, so this is a gas tank. Big old 65-gallon tank here. Got some fucking grime on top of it. That's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these, like we said, I mean, these cross members are still rusted up here, but they don't have holes in them. You can whack them. You can see, I mean, these, yeah, there's rust shaking off of them, and who knows, we'll see what happens, but, these are much more, you know, they're much more solid than the ones in the back.
And now we both have rusted
And now,
eyes.
yeah, I just put, sorry, Reg. Definitely much more solid, so, but, you know, then there's things like this side rail, which is where the floor was connected to, and then connected to the side there. We're gonna figure out here how, this gives us, I mean, this is what we wanted to do. This gives us the idea of how this is all built. The idea is, yeah, to get the rest of this floor out once we get all the windows in. So that way, that's our next thing, is to treat all this stuff and replace what we need to replace. And consult with the welder and whatnot. But now we at least understand how these are attached and like what the chair rails are actually attached to. You know, there's just basically these bits of like angle iron were attached to the steel. You know, these steel angle irons were attached to here, and these were welded to that. Pretty sturdy, but at the same time kind of a weak connection down here. Like, these are pretty weak. I mean, I'm sure at some time, you know, they were thicker and they weren't rusted out, but we may be able to get by kind of making our own rails and stuff here. I mean, yeah, we got to totally, like we said, we're going to make this bus stronger than it was and better than it was. This is what we need to do to figure out how. So I want to show you guys something that's kind of crazy and shows you the power of like covering something. But see this screw? This screw was covered by fiberglass. These were what put the plywood floor into these rails here, and the top of it is like perfect, like the day it was put in, which is incredible for the amount of other rusted screws that were in here. It's kind of weird, but it's covered by fiberglass and didn't get water or salt, so it makes sense. Time to figure out what's next. Okay, so since the inside's kind of at a point where we're waiting on the windows to be done and all that, and we gotta, I mean, really next step is keeping to rip out the floor, and we've got a lot of stuff in there right now, so we don't want to rip out more floor. So what we're going to do is, just because there's always something to be done on your Skoolie when you're starting to build it, just move on to something else. So we put those windows in, we did white weather stripping, replaced the weather stripping around the edge, which is basically like a, I think it's like 5/16 of an inch, or about, actually I think it's about a 1/2 inch wide. I think 5/16 inch deep, and it's basically a rubber weather stripping that you put all the way around the window, because how the window works is there's an outside panel and then there's an inside frame. The outside panel sits into the window, and then that inside frame screws into it all the way around and basically sucks it in. So that foam or rubber weather stripping, because it's a little bit pliable, just smushes down and creates a nice seal. But on top of that seal, we're gonna go one step further and put this Dynatron 550 seam sealer. Sounds like a transformer, I know, Dynatron. But this is something that was recommended on the forums a lot for. It's basically an automotive window and seam sealer, and it's paintable, which is good because we're going to paint the outside of the bus. So I picked this up at an auto parts store, and it's gray, but it doesn't matter because it's paintable. So let's get doing the windows, get our fingers a little messy. Alright guys, let's show you where we ended up end of the day here. Whoa, there's a gas tank. Got this side out too, so we can stare at all our lovely rust. Just just remind us of all the lovely work ahead. But like we said, you know, as much as rust is not fun, and a lot of people probably think this would be like devastating. Maybe we're crazy, maybe we're stupid, I don't know. But
I don't think we're stupid.
I don't think we're stupid.
It's gonna be a little bit more expensive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously there's an expense now that we gotta, and that we already kind of considered, and was factored into buying the bus. I mean.
But it also almost, knowing that we're rebuilding the whole thing and gonna make it even more secure than it even was in the first place, makes us feel a little bit better.
Yeah. It's very reassuring. Well, no, I mean, it feels good to know that we're gonna make this bus like 10 times more solid than it ever was. I mean, I know we've said that. And you guys will see how we do that. So I guess we'll have this be our little send-off here. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, if you liked the video, if you liked something about it, give us a comment, give us a thumbs up, throw us a like,
share with your friends.
Share it with your friends, you know.
Build a bus.
Build a bus yourself. Yeah, whatever you gotta do, you know. We're glad you stopped and took some time to watch this, and obviously we've got a lot of work ahead. If this frame doesn't tell you something, it means we got a lot of work ahead, and we're excited about it. I hope you guys are excited about it too. And I hope you're excited to watch this journey unfold, because that's exactly what it's going to be, is a big old journey. So we're going to go get cleaned up. We're nice and messy. Go grill some dinner because it's a nice night. And then it's going to get back to cooler temperatures this week. So cheers to you all. Hope you have a good one. We'll see you on the next one.